make a video for the social media, YouTube, talking about, well, we just ate a Rollenia off the tree. And what's cool is what I'm saying is, what I said, what I thought would be cool is that I'm the one that planted the tree, and then I'm the one that spent the last few years fertilizing the tree. And then today, the first Rollenia off of this tree, which was a Rollenia, which was like, to me, that Rollenia was the best Rollenia I've ever had. And that food was 11 out of 10.
That was probably the best piece of fruit I ever had in my life.
Yeah. It was one Rollenia off of a tree. And I just thought it would be cool. Just that thought. I'm like sharing my thoughts. So, you know, it's nothing profound or anything, but you plant the tree, then you feed the tree. And then if you're crazy like me, you touch the tree and you talk to it and you pray over it. And sometimes you even sing to it. What I also do sometimes is I got the truck, I'll back the truck up, open the doors up and play classical music to the trees. But weren't those trees healthy?
The trees out here, especially in that yard that I seen, like the leaves were just perfect.
Right. That's because I've been
on many fruit farms.
Yeah.
And I've been around the world, and that was the healthiest trees that I ever saw in my life.
Well, my friend, she said just do whatever it takes to make them healthy, because she cares about the land and she doesn't really have too many financial constraints. So, especially since they're young babies, I've been feeding them about every, quarter, about every 3 months.
Okay.
Somewhere between 3 and 6 months. I will saturate them with a nice mixture of fertilizers. So what you get is the healthy leaves, and then that was just like the really, really healthy fruit, which then has the other part about it that's so cool about the living foods, is what I call it, because that was truly living food, and that's what the animals have done. I'm not going to say humans, because they've been, for millions of years, they've been kind of, not necessarily doing living foods, using fire to survive, which I'm cool with. Like, I don't get down on it, because otherwise we would never have survived, right? Because of the colder climates and stuff. So humans have adapted and evolved. That's why I don't like to get into this argument and start pulling out knives and guns and swords about people's dietary dogma and stuff like that, because the carnivores don't want to admit that we got here from the fruits and the vegetables, and the vegans don't want to admit that we got here from the milk and the pork and the eggs and stuff like that. We all got here from all of it. Yeah. Now
we did whatever we could.
Well, that's the anthropology, and that's the species-specific diet. That's what I say, anyways, just to piss everyone off. It's like, our species-specific diet is whatever the hell you can get your hands on to survive until the next springtime, kind of a thing. And that's just more of this really more well-grounded and balanced kind of approach, because you can have all these fairy tale ideas and argue with everyone online, because you got to sell your niche market and everything like that. But I love the living foods because of what we just experienced, which is that's true living food. And ideally, we would all go into our backyard and, oh, the Rollenia is ripe. The one Rollenia, the first one on this tree, that's probably about 4 or 5 year old tree, and one Rollenia that was fed. So that's basically like that was probably a $50 Rollenia.
I believe it,
because of the, well, not just because of the initial tree, but because of the fertilizer, basically. The rain is free and the sun is free. The fertilizer, I know how much I invest in these really, really good fertilizers, especially when the trees are young. So that's living and raw food at its best. So then that Rollenia, that flavor is because of the richness of the minerals and the amendments in the soil. So you have that perfect flavor, perfect texture.
That took no digestion at all.
That's what I'm saying. It digested itself, because the Rollenia, it was still, this is what's amazing. This is where the true energy comes from. So it's kind of an opportunity to educate, if you will, but it's hard for everyone to get like plums and pears off the tree, or cherries, but things that are ripened on the tree. So the beauty of it is that it's still in its conductive phase, meaning the roots, the leaves. So the leaves are picking up the sun and it's charging the fruit, and then it's grounded by the root system. So there's this ball of light that we just ate, which is, and then, so that's the conductive phase. But then you've also got the enzymes are at their peak, meaning you've got conductivity, and then you've also got the maximum enzyme potential, meaning like Rolenias and avocados and bananas and papayas and pineapples are those foods that are like a banana. So let's say you all get bananas, so you can get bananas that are enzymatic, but they're not necessarily conductive because they were picked like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Yep. So what we're trying to get the highest levels of human energy, well, that's what we'll title the video. Okay. How to increase your energy levels naturally would be to go eat conductive foods, or the foods of light full of biophotons that are at their maximum enzymatic peak. And the other example would be like an avocado on the tree, ripened up on the tree, and you just walk up to it and it's either going to fall down tomorrow, or you're going to barely just take it off today, give it a little squeeze, and it's perfectly ripe. Then you've got conductivity and high enzyme activity, which wild animals have all the time. That's why wild animals don't get fat. You know? I
would think that like when food is like that, because of the conductivity, I'm sure it interacts with your cells differently, like in a more like fluid way, and it's not like it gets into the cell, the nutrition, the minerals, I would think.
I mean, we just basically ate a ball of light.
Yeah.
And so I feel it. But normally the food that we eat, I mean, we eat a lot of weird stuff, but even like a raw food person is not necessarily getting, we should go over here, but we're gonna keep driving because this is a pretty cool video.
Cool, yeah.
There's soursop trees there, bananas, oranges, lemons, limes.
Wow.
And they're, you know.
And we just had some fresh coconuts too on the beach.
Well, that's the other highly conductive, that's the liquid light, and then this other one was the biophoton condensation of light. So basically we had light for breakfast, and now we just had light for lunch.
And it's amazing too, because like if I had, let's say, bananas back home, like Philadelphia, I'd eat like 10 and still feel hungry, and then you eat one piece of fruit like that's like high quality, and it's like an 11 out of 10. The view is crazy, you know, perfect air quality, and you eat it and you're content. I'm not thinking about food at all,
except to make this video.
Yeah, but I'm not like thirsting for it, hungry. I'm not, you know.
The same thing is true with the greens. When you go grow your own greens, you go out there. What I used to do is I would take like, you know, I would take kale and some dill and wrap it and eat it. Or I would take some, you know, bok choy and basil and just wrap that up and eat it. And you only need to eat about, you know, 10, 12, 15 kale leaves and you're full. Because it's the light and the living minerals that really shuts off the apostat. So it's weird how I have this theory that we're kind of simultaneously starving to death for nutrition, but also eating ourselves to death. Yeah. Because we're just never getting satisfied. And then there's 100 other layers below that, as far as like social conditioning, and then our relationship with food. And everyone's got a different kind of story. That's why it's hard to be on the internet, because you're like, you're like this monoculture.
Right.
And you're just speaking from a one-dimensional point of view, and after you've done thousands of consults, you realize that every single person has a completely different set of tools that you need to hand them from your own experience. You know,
and that's why, like, most people want to, like, one fix all for everybody, and it's so different for every person. Well, even if the dietary advice you need, it was the same as this other person, the way you implement it might be different. The time of day, the circumstances, the financial aspect, like, it's just, people they want it simple, and sometimes it is super simple. Usually it is, but at the same time, like, for every person, a little bit of a change I've seen is just, like, can make all the difference in the world.
A little bit of change, like
a little bit of difference between people. Like, one person might be following it one way, and you change it up a little bit for someone else, and they get the results the other person had. Does that make sense?
Explain it to me a little bit.
Yeah, so, like, you have two people following the same thing, right? And then one's getting really good results, the other isn't. But then you just change up something else a little bit, and now they're thriving. So everyone wants that, like, one-fits-all protocol, but like you said, every person's so different, and you might not need to do anything drastic. You might just need to change one or two things, and now you're thriving.
God, and it's usually, I mean, I have, to be honest with you, I've found out from thousands of consults, it's rarely ever the food.
Yeah.
It's almost never, you know, really.
Actually, our first consult we had, you told me to get out of my mom's house. I was spending too much time around women, start eating Puridyne protein, and put on your forehead, you said to get a piece of paper, draw on it, courage, put it on your forehead, and take accountability for your life. And within 6 months, my life was completely different.
Huh. I do so many consults, I don't remember the courage on your helmet thing. But you were, tell us about what you were dealing with at that time.
Yeah, so I had a lot of digestive issues for years. I even had, like, bleeding, like, all that kind of stuff. And I would go to doctors, pay for specialists out of pocket. I don't come from any money or anything like that. So it was, like, challenging, right? Like, you're paying fucking, sorry, I mean to curse it. You're paying, you're paying $200, $300, $500 for a specialist, and they just send you to another one without giving you any answers, right? And so eventually I talked to Dan, and at the time I was like 113 pounds. I'm 6 foot tall, so that's, like, scary, you know, scary, skinny. And the problem was, I wanted to eat, I just couldn't handle eating. If I ate some rice or something like that, it would just sit there, and I would just, my gut was like Ethiopian, like, it was just bloated. I was pale as a ghost. I had no energy. I had no drive, no sex drive, no nothing. And honestly, within 24 hours of Dan's advice, I felt immediately better, because he told me, hey, you're doing wrong.
Kauai Pharmacy. I had to tell you, they're down there, but we're going to keep driving. But we'll go back there maybe later.
Cool.
So I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
just wanted to know.
I always want to see that place.
Oh, you did? Okay, let's go.
Okay.
We'll turn around and go back. But let's go down to Rock Quarry first.
Sure.
And so we can finish this video, because I really like where this is going, and I apologize for interrupting, but we'll go down to the beach. We'll turn around. We'll go check out the pharmacy.
You got it. Okay.
But let's finish this. So tell us where you were at.
Okay, so I was doing tons of fruit at the time. I was doing herbs, but sometimes I'd run out of money, so I couldn't afford the Morris herbs. And I talked to Dan, and Dan said to me, and I quote, "You live in the armpit of the country. There's pollution, there's stress, there's all the Wi-Fi, all this stuff. You really need some fat in you, dude, because I'm trying to detox on fruit, right?" And I was just really malnourished, really sensitive. My nerves were frayed. And he told me to get some green juice, and he said, go eat a fat, dank salad. And I went and got an organic salad, tons of avocado, olives, and it was like the best thing I ever ate. Sex drive came back that day. First night I slept through the night in probably 3 weeks. I was waking up with panic attacks every night, kidney pain. I didn't have kidney stones, but my kidneys were always inflamed. And then from there, I got the Puridyne protein, and I gained about 40 pounds on green juice and salad, even though my calories were less. When I was eating fruit, I was eating 2,000–3,000 calories or whatever, but I switched that dynamic. I was probably only eating 1,000 calories, but my weight was going up because of that simple change. That still live in food, still clean, all that stuff, but it addressed what my body needed instead of this everyone has to do. And you also said you can't detox forever. I was on 6 months fruit at the time, you know, and there's a rebuilding aspect sometimes that you got to do.
I remember now, the house, that's the one we just drove by. That's the house that I lived at. when you called me when I was sitting on the porch.
Okay, yeah.
And we were doing like FaceTime, I think.
Yeah.
Which I normally don't do, but I remember, you know, having an affinity for AJ, and also you were part of the Elite Video Club as well. And so you were, I think it didn't take us too long to figure out that stress, or did it take a long time for us to, because we consulted for, you know, several years off and on.
Yeah.
And we finally got you handled. Now I'm
beefed up, yeah. Now I can
smash me down.
Now I can handle food. which is a big deal. Like obviously I don't always, let's say something I eat isn't the perfect thing, but it doesn't wreck me. Before I could eat something that affected me for weeks. And one piece of food.
How much of that do you think was the mind?
I think that fear-based for sure. I think a lot of it was. Yeah. And I was younger, you know, I was 18, so when stuff happens when you're 18, you're kind of like, this is supposed to happen when I'm like 80, you know, or 60. But when it happens that young, you think there's something deeply wrong with you.
Right. That's why, that's one of the things that I run into more than anything else is, what is stress? Well, and what is the basis of stress? And it's fear. And we have all these food fears. It's like right now we live in a food fear thing where it's like, what can you eat? Nothing.
Yeah.
Air. And you're like, well, what about coconuts? They're totally pure, no glyphosate, you know, and they're like, no, that's too much sugar. And you're just like, it's a God bomb, and it's like, it's too much sugar. So you can't eat anything anymore if you listen to what everyone has to say. But as you get more mature, you're like, oh, you eat it and you poop it out.
Yeah.
And what you think about it is far more important than the actual, this is going to cause this. This has 0.1 nanograms too much glucose, and it's going to spike your heart sugar, you know, and you're just freaking out, dude. And you're just like, but the body can handle an amazing amount of stuff, you know, but it takes us decades to actually figure that out, you know. That
I didn't realize how much the body could take, honestly.
Oh, it can take it.
It's unbelievable.
It's an amazing
I thought I was tapped out like a million times in my life, where I'm like, I'm at the brink, and I wasn't even close.
Yeah, not even close.
Mentally and emotionally and health-wise, like, you can handle so much more. And that's the problem when you're younger. If you're not raised in a way to not be fear-based, you kind of think when something goes wrong, like, this is it. Like, this is a big deal.
It's amazing that, like, because the people, they're still out there. I see them, but they say you don't need any amino acids, but they're always really, really skinny. And so all these raw food girls would do really, really well to eat some of those amino acids. And you're not really going to want to work out.
No.
And if you don't have protein, well, like you said, if you don't have any fat, you don't want to do F word. Yeah. You know, you don't want to have sex. You have no sex drive. The fruit is very ascending for sure, but the nature is going to say, well, there's no fat, we can't have babies, because without fat and amino acids, but more so the fat, especially for women, if you have too low fat of a diet, the nature is saying do not have a baby, because it's going to be deformed, malnourished. Now there's breatharian babies, I suppose, and there's a lot of quantum theory. What you find out after being in this game for 2.5 decades is that all the breatharians are, you know, eating all kinds of weird stuff. We're all breatharians because we live for 3 minutes without air, or we live for a couple weeks without water, and we live for a few months without food. So in that sense, air better be your priority. And the quality of air is what none of the health practitioners talk about. It's the absolute, because the baby starts to get sick on his first breath because the windows are closed, grandpa's smoking his pipe, and you live in the middle of New York City and the fireplace is burning and the windows are closed. So the acids start to accumulate on the most sensitive. The brain and the head and the nervous system is your antenna to the divine, and we start breathing in those acids and destroying those sensitive glands in the brain and the lungs. And then when you get the flu or the cold or the cough, then you use the medicine to suppress that further deep down in, and then it becomes these chronic ossifications in the lungs or in the lymphatic system.
People are addicted to that spray too. I know people who are addicted to it, and they know they are. They tell me.
Coconut stand, by the way.
Cool.
I don't ever go there anymore because I get free ones. But my buddy Mark, he runs all these trees, man.
Wow.
He's got a lot.
Holy crap.
Mark's cool. He wants me to take it over. I'm like, I don't want to do it, man. I'm going to try to keep
You'll
making
be busy.
this. I want to make this internet thing work, you know?
Yeah.
I just have to have a resurgence and a regeneration, because after 15 years of being on the internet, you're not as excited, you know, because and there's a lot of people that are new in the raw food thing, and they're in their 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th year. They're still excited. After a while, it's kind of like, you know, sleeping is like, how can you convince people that sleeping is like the best thing you can do? Or I have a really hard time convincing my clients and my friends that exercise is good. You know, I don't even call it that because I just go out and play. But, you know, we'll see what we get around to today. But
you were climbing that tree. I mean, that's going to be pumping your lymph, you know, that's getting...
That was an easy one.
That was an easy one, yeah.
That's like you get actually an ab workout with the tree. So you actually healed, like, it was more so, it was anxiety and stress. And I would say after thousands of consults that is one of the main problems with my people. They're like, what should I eat? And they're explaining me all these complicated diets and all this stuff, and it's really almost has nothing to do with it in a way. And that's why it's like I'm not the best advocate for any particular concept, because I've found out, like, my philosophy is that, you know, your life is a wheel. For me, God is at the hub, or the divine consciousness, or the absolute, the unchangeable, unmanifest, you know, and then all this stuff comes up, and then you're like, well, what are you going to do with all this manifestation? And everyone has to choose. And then what we do is we project onto others what our ideals are, and everyone should live by those ideals. But then that wouldn't be God being God, which is an unlimited overabundance of diversity in the manifest. But I think it's important. Your life can get a lot better on every level if you remember the absolute undifferentiated, which is then you realize you are the other, that there's only just one source energy, and that your consciousness and your awareness and your body and your mind are, again, just diversifications of the unified field. And then if you're like, I'm the unified field, Joe Biden is the unified field, Donald Trump is the unified field, then you're the stress levels, and then you're like, you don't have to go pointing everyone, how dare you eat a piece of cheese, and you're freaking out, you're having heart palpitations, killing yourself, and they're just chewing on the cheese going, I love these queso morphings, and I wish you would fuck off. And they're happy and chill. It's called the dosa, or the divine. So people are so stressed out about how divine they are and how perfect their lives are, while the other person, they're just eating a nice piece of whatever, deep fried dosa, and you're at church all stressed out, and they're just out there at the restaurant eating, and they're chilling. So it's like, who's really closer to God? Right. You know, and so it just, you start to get a perspective of, hey, do your diet thing, but don't forget all the other aspects of the wheel, which is, you know, with God at the center, and then all these other spokes that need to be balanced out just as much. Because otherwise, like, I'm going to emphasize only on my diet. Well, that spoke will be a lot longer than the other ones, and you'll be on the jalopy wheel. I only focus on diet, and yet I don't go to bed until 3 in the morning because I'm on my Instagram checking how many likes I got for the 14 pictures that I posted that day. And you're going like this, and your life is a jalopy.
Everyone can relate to that. Everyone's so, like you said, focused on the food, and but they're on Instagram till 3 a.m. You know, that's obviously...
I can't relate to that because I will not.
I mean, a lot of people probably can. Because,
but the technology, we're going to have to get a handle on that. Dude, I'm telling you, I'm retarded. Okay? I have been made retarded, and I'm learning to read again. I'm learning to write again. I'm learning to do research, old school. I mean, I'm not getting out the encyclopedias, but I'm avoiding the scrolling. and I'm staying focused on my task, which is to, you know, research different topics just to keep my brain working. Not even anything to make my life better, because accumulating data doesn't really make your life better.
Right.
But at least you want to keep those parts of your brain functional. And what we have now is that we might as well just have the thing strapped to our face, like a meta goggles.
It's coming.
Yeah, and they'll be walking around, which they already have. This kid just ran into me yesterday, because he's just staring at his phone, and he just ran right into me around the corner. And I just let him do it because I wanted him to get the lesson. You're staring at the phone while walking down the sidewalk, you know. And you just, I knew he was coming, and I saw him, and I said, this kid's going to have an abrupt wake-up call when he steps into me because he's not paying attention. Anyways, it's like, that's why it's like, I'm not necessarily really in one small niche. I do want to help people with the health, and it's multitudinous, you know, and that's why the consults are cool. Well, they've ruined me, because I used to think of the one size fits all. Just go raw and all your problems will be solved. The problem is, you know, that didn't work for me. Yeah. In fact, it made it worse, because I kept getting more and more aware of everything, and I was like, well, this is raw food, but these combinations are terrible. It's better just to eat some steamed broccoli.
Yeah.
With, instead of these, you know, raw tacos. It's like, it's not going to get you healthy. Yeah. And the fruitarians understand that, but then, you know, a lot of times they don't have any of the protein or the fat. And I've learned over the years by working with everyone, because I balance out, you know, we're talking about Dr. Morse's stuff. I love Dr. Morse's stuff, and I have it. And I just got an affiliate with him after his wife cut me off. I don't know why. I was making too much money. I was killing it. And then she just cut me off. And, you know, so I just went more into the private zone. I mean, I am a businessman too. I want to help. I'm like a kid and a young man, and I'm a businessman, and I'm a sage. I'm all of those, you know, and the businessman is like, ain't nobody going to pay my bills for me, because I ain't taking shit from the government, because then you'll become their slave, and that's what they want, you know, is to have everybody be helpless. But the Dr. Morse herbs, so Dr. Morse was the fruit, and I just fruit, and I just got fruited out. Yeah. Too fruited out. And you know what I'm talking about. Then Lou came along and was like, yo, bro, you need some protein. So he would talk about the almonds and the yogurt and stuff, and then I gained like 15 or 20 pounds hanging out with Lou for a few months in California. I'm like, okay, and everyone's like, Dan, you look great. Because normally I'm like Dr. Morse, skinny little guy, because that was my thing, because Dr. Morse was one of my very first, and Arnold Ehret. But then you just fruit year round of this hybridized stuff. It wasn't going to work for me in the long term. Yeah. And then Lou brought in the protein, then Tavis brought in the fat, just like me. And the first night that I ate a bunch of fat, because it's like low fat, if it's 11%, you'll start dying right then and there, you know. And because everyone has their concepts, but then ultimately what you want to try to do is to help people to be their own guru. And we have to learn, but all those senses, our spidey senses, are like asleep from the drugs and the shots and the everything that we've been doing, and the food puts you to sleep too, and the air puts you to sleep. So here we go, my brother. This is a lot of beauty out here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
This is the lighthouse. We're just cruising around because this is a good video, and it's probably, people love the long videos. Yeah. And I think, you know, TikTok, you know, everybody
TikTok brain
wants 1 second, but there's true education, and then it's context like this that can actually bring nuance. Then it makes sense. Because if you're just a one-dimensional dude up there saying everyone needs to go raw vegan right now or you're going to hell, you know, it doesn't really work that way, you know?
Yeah, and even the fear part that you were talking about, I was actually, before talking to you, I was genuinely afraid that if I ate fat, I wasn't going to heal, because I was so sick, right? And I was just on fruit, and I'm like, if I step out of this and I eat any fat or any protein, I'm not going to heal. But really, it helped me heal because it gave me what I needed. It wasn't just about cleanse. It's so like a little bit of like nourishment too. It like really improved the quality of my life.
I have a philosophy for most of us that are on this journey of refinement and regeneration at the highest levels of, you know, some people just want spiritual regeneration and they want to just sit. It doesn't matter if they get fat. It doesn't matter what happens. They just sit and they just go and they're gone. The body falls over and that's that. But then there's other people that have this, you know, a purpose of more of a full life regeneration for humanity, which it includes the body and the heart and the brain, mind. You know, you will be renewed by the regeneration of your mind, or you will be made brand new by the regeneration of your mind, or I don't even, it's a Bible thing. I'm the terrible Bible person, you know. I've read it a million times when I was a kid, now I forgot it all, but you will be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I think that's closer to it. Someone write it down below or something on what Bible verse that is. But, you know, and then there's the spiritual regeneration and illumination too, which is really coming back to the natural state. Like, we're not really acquiring anything. Enlightenment isn't really the acquisition of something new, but it's the relinquishment of all of the illusions that are blocking that which already exists in all of us. We're not going to create God. It already is all of this. There's no differentiation, so it's just one homogeneous God being. That's why the brand new garbage can and the old rusty garbage can, I mean, they both work. You know, and some of us, you know, want a brand new garbage can, and for some of us, the old trash can works. You know, I don't know if that's the best example, but what I'm saying is that...
No, that's good.
That the renewal and the regeneration of the body, at least for me, it wasn't a straight shot. Because there were so many layers and levels happening. I mean, I'm getting more to the spiritual level, but I mean, the society made me a wuss, and now I need to learn how to be a man again, you know, and so I want to learn how to transcend the opposites of pain and pleasure and transcend them both, you know. Anyway, so I kind of feel like I'm supposed to stay this food guy when the more powerful stuff is the inner, deeper stuff, which the food can support. Because especially with the spiritual stuff, when you start to eat more simply, very benign baby food, non-stimulating, you know, and it's not so much for pleasure as much as it is just for balance and sustenance. So that's why, like, in the end, I think Dr. Morse said it a million times too, but in the end, balance. Yeah, eat oranges for 6 months. Yes, drink watermelon juice for 3 months. You know, do a coconut water cleanse for 40 days. Do water fasting. But can you do that the rest of your life? And is that the best way to go? It might not be, because you were trying to do that thing, and it wasn't really that was the problem. It was that you needed to relax. And when you eat some fat, you do relax, because there's a certain biochemistry with fat in nature as far as reproductive goes. Your brain is like all fat. Your nerves are insulated by fat. And I'm not saying you need massive amounts of fat. No. You just need to utilize and absorb. And I think that the omega-3 and the omega-6 ratio is pretty off balance.
You know, even the pollution of where I was, that was a big aspect of why I needed fat too.
That's right.
Because if I was in Kauai and the air is super good and stuff, like, and the fruit quality is great, then it's probably not that hard to do for prolonged periods of time. But when you're dealing with traffic and stress and pollution and chemicals in your environment, you're almost really susceptible, because you're so clean, because the fruit's so light and easy on you, right? But then you're more susceptible. If someone gets mad at you, it affects you more. Or if you get exposed to some detergent. I know one night I washed my sheets with regular detergent after not doing it for years, and I woke up with a panic attack. Like, I couldn't take the chemicals anymore.
That's right.
Know? So that was something you pointed out in the consult too. You were like, you're surrounded by chemicals because I was in South Jersey at the time, and you know, you need some more fat so that you could buffer some of that acid. and like handle some of that.
That's it. That is it. You're right. I'm actually, so you're making me feel like I'm pretty smart, because that's as old as the hills. You have to eat according to your environment. And that's why somebody like saying living in, that's like me being a dick and being like, all you losers, you know, I can't believe you're not eating raw food in the middle of winter, you know, and you're like, Dan, the food is so swag. It's been sprayed with everything under the sun. It's trash, you know, please don't be a dick. I'm like, okay, I got an idea. How about I don't be a dick and have understanding, because I've traveled a lot and I've lived in the wintertime in Seattle, you know, and I know what it's like. And the food can be really swaggy. Now, I go way out of my way to make things happen.
Yeah.
And I don't expect a single mother of 3 kids to spend 2 hours a day driving around trying to find the perfect beets that haven't been sprayed and all this other stuff that you can do. You have to make an effort, but also at the same time, you can't spend your entire life driving around like I do, going to get the best stuff, which means, you know, I just went to the tree and we got this. I'm getting the hell out of here. Cool. So that was a pretty cool video. I mean, it's such a great context, but it was like, so you had the, I want to point out, like, you ate some fat. So now you're kicked out of certain groups on the internet because your fat went up to 11%. But you see, I'm saying, like, don't be a dick. Like, I'm a high carb, high fat, high protein, skinny little yogi who, you know, is trying to stay in the game, but yet all I really want to do is meditate, because that's kind of the level that it's gotten to, where it's all pure consciousness. Just like this morning I was telling you, I woke up, I went to bed, I had a crappy day yesterday, and I woke up in a funky vibe at, you know, 4:30, but then I went to meditate, and about halfway through the meditation, the funkiness just dissipated, and I was like, should I go back to sleep or go to yoga? But as it dissipated, the consciousness was like, go to yoga. And it became a regular good day today, you know, where I had a really bad day yesterday. And so, you know, the meditation is really one of the things that what I've found is that proper meditation, which has taken me 25 years, and then just in the last 6 years I've actually really been working on it, and then only in the last year have I actually begun to really understand proficiency in meditation and been super devoted to it. And then it changes your brain. It changes, everything changes. You get just better and more aware on every level of the subtleties, and that's what makes you feel like you're crazy, because the rest of the world might not be as sensitive. So what we're talking about is eating according to your environment and not feeling bad. And some people feel bad and some people feel good, but the internet makes us all feel bad, because everyone on the internet is perfect. And then in real life, you never see any of that kind of stuff. And you're like, I'm a loser. You know, I'm 15% fat, or I ate something cooked, or, you know, whatever your deal is. Or even, and most of us are still drinking and smoking and the coffee, which I don't really want to judge anyone for that either. Because, like, you know, my daughters drink coffee, you know, and that kind of thing like that too. And it's just, I understand why people drink coffee, because yesterday was one of those days where it was noon and I was like, wanted to take a nap. This is another piece of paradise.
Oh, wow.
Common Grounds.
I think I've heard of that.
Yeah. It's an amazing place. There's so many amazing fruit trees back there.
Is that what it is, a farm?
Yeah, basically. A restaurant farm.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, it's just, where, you know, I think that one thing I'd like to do, like if I do pick a niche, instead of it being like a diet niche, because everyone's just been, you know, fighting each other for decades, and I'm like over it. It's like, my friend eats meat and he has a pure heart, okay, and I love him, and he makes me sugar cane once a week. You know, he says, I had a steak for breakfast. I'm like, cool, how does that make you feel? You know, it's amazing. And then we're drinking sugar cane together, you know. So everybody's just trying to find their way through this mess. And, you know, my priority, I see some of the things that I've been doing wrong. I had to learn a lot, and there's still a lot to learn, even after 25 years of my intuition. And it's just like, it's simplicity. And food will never satisfy you. That's what you have to learn. If you use food to fuel your life, but we all grew up in a society, especially me particularly, food was this thing. And it's this thing that was everything.
Yeah.
And that's funny that I'm the food guy, but yet I'm finally starting to get it because I want to be a better meditator. I want to be better at fasting. But I also want to be better at being able to eat in the middle without letting it run away from me, because I could go kind of extreme, you know, and to find that sweet spot right in the middle. And so who can say what that is? And people come up with great programs, and of course we follow those programs and those protocols, and they help, but your life can't be a protocol.
Yeah.
At some point you have to have an intuitive approach, and you also have to adapt to traveling or holidays or varying stages in life, or
you get into a
goals.
relationship, your diet changes a lot usually.
Everything.
Yeah. And I wanted to say that, what was I going to say? Before I forget, one of the things you recommended in the consult, because I had brain fog for like years, I could not think straight.
Yeah.
You had me on the Restore, that stuff for the microbiome. Yeah. And I took that within 2 weeks. My brain fog's never come back, despite if my diet changes or not.
Yeah.
That was like really, really a big moment, because that meant I could work jobs where I could actually use my brain. Whereas before, I'm in a haze all the time.
Yeah. And that is one simple molecule, really. Well, a whole bunch of molecules, but basically, you know, that molecule is what's missing from our food, because like I told everyone in the last video, the triple washed, you know, they wash away all the microbes, and it's really the dirt. The terahydrites in there are communication molecules that allow the gut bacteria to produce a barrier. And when you don't have those communication molecules, which are in the soil, so you eat the dirty food, then you have those terahydrites that are keeping the microbes in a state of constant communication. Once those are gone, once the food is hyper sterilized, then the gut barrier begins to open up and allow in larger proteins, larger sugars, instead of there always being this constant earthy material that is a communication molecule that's been in the soil and on the food. It's less so on the fruit and more so on the vegetables closer to the ground, which, you know, but imagine whatever primates picking up and just eating it, and it's in the air too, but not so much in the cities, and not so much in the processed cooked food or the food that's been triple washed and hyper sterilized. And so it's like, it's the dirt. So that's another thing that you never see on the internet. Like, I call it the clean dirt. There's clean dirt, and then there's dirty dirt. There's like chemical dirt, then there's like pure natural dirt that doesn't have the runoff and the herbicides and the human pollution and the biosludge. So I try to go all the way back. We're going to go there today, as a matter of fact. And I just go and I go sit and stand and lay. And sometimes I spread the mud all over my body just for an inoculation. Not that you need to do that, but it's getting those dirty farmer foods is what I'm saying, is where you're going to get those terahydrites. And that's where you're going to be able to have those communication molecules that are going to keep your gut bacteria healthy. You know, so that's pretty cool that you had that.
That was huge, because I had a lot of gut dysbiosis too. So a lot of my sugars that I was eating, I was just fermenting like crazy. So if I could eat like a bunch of grapes, and I would piss like 30 times because I wasn't digesting it. So I had to, you know, urinate it out.
So it was fat, and it was the pyridine protein that kind of stabilized you out.
Yeah, that helped put weight on me. Yeah,
I don't care what anyone says, man. Amino acids
and that helped my teeth too, because my teeth. It's not like 100%.
Bro.
What it did was my teeth were so sensitive, and if I had anything cold, they all just hurt. And then I just started doing more minerals and more of the fats and amino acids, and it's like my teeth are fine and I don't get cavities.
100%, dude.
And I also, I don't know if you recommended this, but I also got I had 2 amalgam fillings that I got removed, those mercury fillings, and that really helped too.
Yeah, because that's always going to off gas and mess up your head as well. So, pretty good video, man. Did you ever you did the Dr. Moore's herbs off and on? You did.
I still do his herbs.
Yeah, me too. Do some tonight, as a matter of fact, for my lymph nodes. And then also, you did some of the Pyridine?
Pyridine, yeah. So the enzymes, I go on and off of it. I try to get that 1,000 count bag, because then I know I'm good for a bit. Yeah. The protein, you know, it's always amazing. I usually make the hummus. I don't put it in smoothies or anything. I usually just mix it with some water and maybe some salt, and I dip the vegetables in it. That's how I did it for years.
That's what I'm talking about, bro.
And I just finished off a bottle of the Restore 2 before I came. I took a Capworth before I came here, like the rest of it.
Nice. So you take you just take the Pyridine Natural, and I'll make a recipe of this. I've been planning on it. But you take the Pyridine Natural, and you can just add water.
Yeah, I do like pure water, lemon,
sea salt. You can add a clove of garlic.
I'll do sea salt, or if I have it, sometimes I'll do coconut aminos, because that gives it some flavor too. Oh yeah, and that's really good.
And then you just you're getting massive. It's like eating a steak. Of just worth of aminos. And I know that you don't want to eat too many, but I've never OD'd on
3 scoops is usually what I do.
Yeah, I mean those aminos, but they work for everything: your hair, your teeth, your skin. But mostly for the muscle. You won't have any energy to work out unless you've got the aminos, just like you won't have the, which is the same thing we were talking about as we rolled here through before, the sex drive. Yeah. So there are different phases in the game, but in the end, in the long-term balance in the middle, carbs, proteins, fats, with an emphasis on staying hydrated and mineralized and sunlight and fresh air and sleep, and avoiding the depression of the social media as much as possible. Because, it's like, if you're one of those people that is all into yourself and stuff like that, and, you got to have that. And once I kind of lost that, I haven't been able to do something. Like, look at me. It's like, I don't care, dude. I don't want to pose or look at my food and I just want to share, this is more my style. I think this went really well, and people were listening, the hardcore fans. Thanks, everybody. You cannot believe. Someday I'll tell the story, but it has been dark night of the soul, ego death that just keeps going deeper and deeper. And then this is me and my little character, but also, a lot of experience. And then AJ here, he's been one of my best clients / friends. Helped me with the Elite Video Club and all that stuff. So it's just nice to be with him, and I just trust him and I love him, because we've talked about a lot of stuff. Like, I helped him for a long time, and then he started kind of helping me with some of my stuff. So he just got here yesterday, and we're just rolling through. And if I have I hate it when it's just me, even if I'm the one that takes 90% of the talking. Damn it, I know. But the stupid thing goes on, and this thing happens 15 years every day. It just happens. But you holding that space, you're a real person. You're my friend. You're my good friend, bro. You're a really good guy. I love you too, AJ. And it's just that it gives it a context. It's a real thing, instead of me just ranting at you. You better eat your vegetables, damn it. It doesn't feel right. Sure. But if there's nuance, context, a little banter, I know I always take the whole thing, but I'm the guy, right? Yeah. And everybody wants me to be the dude, and I am the dude, but I'm also had my ass handed to me on a silver platter, and I've been beaten down to nothing, to where I'm not going to get up here and tell you you're a loser if you don't see things my way. I'm going to tell you I love you no matter what. I understand the drugs. I understand the relationships. I understand the insane world. I understand the censorship. And I understand low self-esteem and low self-worth. And I understand all the unconscious programs and everything. And you just got to, keep pushing through as best you can. And when you're wore out, you got to take a break, And I do love food, and I do love the sobriety, and it's cool to try to help people, you know, to just with a little bit. It's kind of, this is like a fun thing for me because it is expression and it's an art, and it's been a great business because I could always go back to washing windows or doing something else, but this has been a cool thing. But the last several years, I just kind of lost my mojo. But and one day I'll tell the story and everyone will understand. Like, something has happened to me in my life and I got involved in some crazy shit. And then it's just been, I've been working. I woke up kind of to this thing. Anyways, I shouldn't have said all that, but it's just life. And I understand. So understand, you understand, everybody can. It's like today's video is how to stay balanced long-term on a, well, you're not even doing that thing anymore, but just, so that's not even, well, I'll use the raw vegan thing, but it's just like, but it's really like how to stay balanced in life. Gotta have some kind of fancy title to get people to click, I get it. But it really is like, in the end, I had this long journey with like Dr. Morse. I was adherent to. I love the man. You know, he's one of my main things. But there are different seasons in life. You can't detox the rest of your life like me. But what I'm trying to do is detoxify generational pain. And so I don't fault myself. You know, for that. And I still love living foods. And I love fasting as the greatest tool that I have, aside from meditation and semen retention and sunlight and breath work and yoga and everything else that keeps that wheel spinning perfectly, but always trying to remember God at the center of it all. And then, you know, yeah, I mean, that's just a balanced life. And then the reason why, because they're like, you're always detoxing, Dan, it's because I knew there was something wrong, and I'm not done with it yet. I'm still working on stuff, and God gave it to me as God's grace to make it a hard, challenging life, so that I would always remember that, the God, instead of saying, hey, I'm the God, look at how nice my skin is, look at how skinny my body is, look at how much money I have, look at how many people love me, like me, look at how many likes I get on Instagram, look at, you know, whatever. It's more like I didn't get that because I was just average everything, and it wasn't enough, you know. And I wanted to strengthen my weaknesses instead of, because on the internet you can celebrate your strengths and accentuate those, especially with the right lighting, the right outline, and
the lighting's everything.
The lighting is everything, because otherwise you look like a 9,000-year-old mummy. Or you got the right lighting and you look good. But either way, you know, I don't even remember what my point was, but just the real life is what we don't want to lose, because the AI, the technology, and I want to be a human for the rest of my life. If all the generations after me are like transgender, AI, robotic, you know, whatever. I was going to say Democrats, but the Republicans aren't much better, you know, but it's just a globalist apologist. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing it. I'm fighting till the death. So there are some masculine men left, women. So don't give up, ladies.
Don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up, because there's masculine men left that love women and children and want to provide for you.
Protect you.
And love you and commit to you. And there's just, right now, people are confused, but if you hold out and you perfect yourself as a woman or as a man, focus on that and just raise your vibration on every level. Some people think, I eat fruit, I'm better than everyone else, they're a bunch of losers. And then, I wonder why I don't have a boyfriend. It's because that's your attitude. Because you just be the divine mother and love everyone. Love the bum on the street, love the billionaire, the greedy billionaire. Everybody's lost, because until we find the self, until we find the self, and then, oh, the one self is yourself, then I'm just judging myself if I'm judging you. you know, and that's what's going on. So if we clean up ourselves, then the whole world is fixed. The cleaner you get on the inside, not just physically with food and detox, but your heart, your mind, what you expose yourself to, and trying to be like, have some benevolence, love, compassion, understanding, which mine are hard earned, but they're in there. Like if someone asks for help, I will help. More so in real life.
And I've experienced that firsthand,
And I'm also a businessman too, so, you know, it's like, anyways, this dude's like, hey, I want the, you know, can we talk? And I was like, well, you know, I mean, I do professional consulting. So it's a hard thing to know because you want to help, but, you know, these quick little calls turn into like 30, 40 minutes and it's a lot of energy. But I love you guys. I do love making videos, especially like this. I'm just going to have AJ with me all the time because the vibe is good. We've got the coconuts. We got the Rolenia. We're going to hit the market. We're hitting Kauai Pharmacy. We'll go get some good stuff here.
Awesome. Yeah.
And you're getting the full meal deal today.
Getting the full tour.
And then we're going to go down to the market. Then we're going to go over to Makaleha and go and play in the mud. And then we'll have to see what happens after that.
Cool.
Okay, well, thanks, everyone. I sure appreciate it. This is for the long video, people. But your boy DTM loves you. I do love this job. I do love my job with Paradigm. And I do love the YouTube. Not necessarily Google, but...
Are you cool if I plug the podcast? Because we might be starting back up.
You plug it.
Hell yeah. Hungry People podcast on YouTube. Go follow it. We're going to have some new stuff coming out soon.
Hungry People?
Yeah.
Cool, man. Yeah, because...
Dan's been on there twice, so go watch his videos.
Okay.
We did some interviews on there.
Well, we are at the... we're at the Kauai Pharmacy, and I can't tell you...
I'm so excited. I've watched so many videos of this place.
Yeah, and look at the papayas ripe on the trees. We'll get some cacao.
Oh, cool.
There's all kinds of great herbs and stuff. But it's been an honor to serve. Sometimes I don't feel worthy because I'm more in the struggle than I've ever been. But that's because I'm simply not going to lower my standards, and I'm not going to give up on this dream and this vision. It's just a lot harder than I thought. And I told my kids, and I thought, oh, I'm a cycle breaker, so I'm not going to hit my kids or yell at them. But that's one aspect of it. Then it's the deeper stuff of like, can you learn to love yourself? Can you learn to love others? Can you stop those trajectories of low self-worth passing on through the universe and find that universal love and peace? Love and peace is my goal. And the diet is like a spoke on the wheel that leads to a peaceful life. And then there's all the different karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, and hatha yoga. That's a totally different thing. That's just staying flexible. But it's just the synergy of the yogas, which means union, which means one with God, which transcends the body and the mind. So to go from identifying as a dude on YouTube that's, hey, look at my body, and listen to my concepts, and that being all important, and then realizing that there's something beyond that. So to let that go, not even to let it go, but just to bring in the higher awareness so that those things can be there, and I can still be a Dan McDonald that loves his veggies and loves whole food and helping people get sober, and love your husband and forgive him, because forgiveness was the other thing. Stress and forgiveness, those are the two. And then later on down the line, after you've gotten your sleep and you're hydrated, then we can start talking about your diet, and everyone wants to fight because that's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, if you can change your environment, one thing, and then the people around you, like, your life changes fast. Whereas like when we just try to like implement exercise or something, it takes so long to see. It takes weeks and months, but like when you change who you're around, everything changes quicker.
Environment is unfortunately everything.
Yeah.
God bless you. Thanks, AJ. Appreciate you holding space, bro. And thanks everyone for the like and the thumbs up. I really do. These are the kinds of videos that I'm like, okay, this is why I do it. Not the other 95% of the videos that I'm just grinding through and forcing myself because it's a job, and it is a job. But these are the ones that are fun and cool. So thank you so much for just sticking with the DTM, and hopefully you learned something today and your life is better. Sending lots of love. May God's peace fill your heart. and your mind.
Amen.
Peace.
Aloha.
60 minutes, dude.